All right. And we are live. Welcome everyone to the source for creation of your life. Access consciousness, the foundation. So I wanted to talk to you today about what is the source for creation of your life. And as Gary Douglas says, if you want anything to show up in your life, you need to function from these four components: question, choice, possibility, and contribution. And so, you know, in the Access Foundation class that was created by Gary Douglas and the founder of Access Consciousness and Dr. Dane here, it literally is the platform in which you can begin to create the life that you desire. And so by the time I actually came to Access Consciousness, I'd, been studying so many different modalities as a healer. By trade, I'm a chiropractic physician. So I've been working with people's bodies for about 15 years before I found Access. And before that, I was a personal trainer too. So I've been working with bodies for a very, very long time, since I think 1986. So I'm dating myself here. So bodies are a lot of fun for me. But I don't want to say more importantly, but just as important, if not more, is that helping someone to access the very essence of who they are, their very being, is one of the greatest gifts um, that are available for me and for all of us, really, who choose to become facilitators in this body of work. And it's amazing. And so by the time I came to Access Consciousness, I had been pretty beaten down. My first wife had committed suicide. I was a single father with three kids. They were 10, 8, and 2.5 years old when she made her choice. She suffered from mental illness. And, so not only are you dealing with the tragedy of what occurred, not only are you trying to figure out, all right, how am I going to raise these three kids by myself and run a business, my chiropractic business? But it's like, but it's like, I was at the point was like, okay, God, I don't understand it. Like, my wife and I and our family, we've been sort of seeking your face. We've been seeking to be more conscious with all these different modalities. We had gurus, we studied metaphysics, we did breath work. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. We spent almost 6 years in the church. We prayed in tongues. We laid our hands on people, prayed for miracles and all that stuff. And so we sort of been like all over the globe in terms of healing techniques and therapies and different seminars. And so I was literally on my knees, like, I don't get it. For a family that's been working so hard to be one with all life, to have total communion, total ease and joy, it's been nothing but a struggle. And not only from the choice that she made in the suicide, and then the stress of running a business and being a single father, but it was like I had to look at, like, was I actually satisfied with what I created professionally? And like, because I consider myself a pretty good healer, but my financial situation didn't reflect that. And so I literally was like, okay, I must be really screwed up. Because for someone who's studied all these different things, I have absolutely nothing to show for it. Nothing. I can have a good conversation with people, but it's like nowhere in my life was my life thriving for all the like self-help work that I had done up until that point. So I'll never forget. I remember saying, wherever I'm locked up, whatever's stopping me from being everything that I can possibly be, to have more ease, more joy, and all of that, I'm like, it's got to be something that's way beyond the subconscious mind, way beyond. And so I literally was like, okay, God, I'm going to go outside the box, because everything I've been doing hasn't been working. And if I end up going to hell for it, so be it. I'll have a lot of friends down there with me. And sure enough, about 9 months after the kid's mother passed away, this thing called Access Consciousness, the bars showed up. And I was like, okay. And then I listened to this free webinar, and I learned about these 32 points on the head, where if you just gently touch these points, it will basically begin to dissolve all your limitations in the areas of money, healing, sadness, joy, uh, your point of view about your body, sexuality, healing. I mean, you name it. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And being a chiropractor and working with my hands to help heal people, or facilitate healing in people, that was something that intrigued me. But I thought the work was kind of like really weird and bizarre. So I took the boys with me, and because my daughter was too young at the time, and the boys at that point were 11 and 9. And I'll be honest, my first experience, I just had so much doubt, so much question. I had a really difficult time receiving, but the ease and the joy it created for my sons was something that kept me, that allowed me to go back. I chose, I'm like, I need to come back because I'm seeing the ease and the joy that it's creating for the boys. And at that point, I thought I was a lost cause. I'm like, for someone who's done all this work and has nothing to show for it, maybe there's no hope for me, but at least I can study this stuff to help the children. Okay. So Mona, how you doing? Are you able to keep up?
No, it doesn't work for me on the Czech line.
Okay.
It kicked me off, so I will have to translate it afterwards.
After. Okay. All right. So, all right. So we will continue, unfortunately. Or not unfortunately that will continue, but we'll have to continue without simultaneous Czech translation. So how does it get better than that? Anyway, so after the first bars class, it wasn't until my third bars class where I was like, oh my God, like I could literally feel my brain changing. And the next day I woke up and I felt like someone opened up my cranium, took out the old brain and put a brand new brain in that was full of joy and happiness. And I remember saying to myself, wait a second, it's only been 11 months after my wife had passed away. I shouldn't be this happy. Why am I this happy? It's only 11 months later, right? And so I know in certain cultures you wear black for at least a year after you've lost someone close to you, right? You're supposed to mourn for 12 months. So I remember feeling really guilty because I actually had joy. So that's when I actually knew that there was something profound about this work. So I made a demand in my life to get to that next class, which is Access the Foundation. And I'll never forget every single class that I had ever been to up until that point in my life. I was always like attentive and pulling the information. And in this Access Consciousness Foundation class, literally, it was melting my cognitive mind. It was like I was literally melting in my seat, like, what's happening? I was like practically drooling on myself. And so I had a lot of resistance. I had so much resistance to the work because it was not like anything I've ever studied. I mean, it was beyond metaphysical stuff. But I knew that there was something to it because if I wasn't able to be like attentive the whole time, like a good student, and I'm sitting here like melting in my chair, I was like, whoa. By the end of the class, I practically didn't even know my name. I don't even remember what I learned. But what I can tell you that what you do learn is basically the basic tools to create your life. All right. And what it does is where you have with Access Consciousness, you have hands-on tools that can release and dissipate all those areas of unconsciousness and anti-consciousness in which you function from that you don't even know. But it helps you to receive, and it creates ease in the body and creates that space as you go along the journey. And then in the foundation, you start to actually learn more of the verbal processes, so to speak. Okay, the different tools, like the 10 keys to freedom, for example. Okay, and learning how to live in 10-second increments instead of worrying about the future and always dwelling on the past. I mean, how many of you out there make decisions today based on the past? That's not the source for creating your future. The source for creating your future is question, choice, possibility and contribution, right? And so the gift that access is, and it's hard to say in one quick call because there's so many gifts to it, is not only does it actually contribute to your level of receiving, but it starts to dissolve those areas that block you that you don't even know about. I was an open book, okay? Therapists loved me because I would go and I would sit with them and I would just tell them all of my problems. I was like, here are all my skeletons in my closet. Please fix me. Right? And so, but like, and they loved me. And so they would, but it never helped. All I did was talk the whole time. They didn't give me any tools. They just said I was a good guy and you'll be fine. But on the inside, I always felt like I was dying. On the inside, I never felt like I was being everything I knew was possible because something was always blocking me. And it was like invisible. So no matter how much I would dig up in the unconscious mind and look at my stuff, couldn't change it. So the bars comes along, the Access Consciousness Foundation comes along, and I literally walked away from that class. I felt like I had no brain. But that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I realized that it had bypassed my cognitive mind. It had bypassed me being able to figure out how to fix my problems. Because the awareness that I had before I learned about Access Consciousness was that wherever it is that I am stuck is way beyond my cognitive mind and also way beyond my unconscious mind. Because I explored those areas more than most people I know. Okay. I had a guru for 2 years. I did everything the guru said to do. Okay. I did everything Jesus said to do. Okay. My wife still killed herself. All right. And so I had nothing to show for it. And I look at everybody else's life who could give a shit about consciousness and like their lives were fine. I'm like, what the fuck? They're not even doing any self-help stuff and they're happy. And I'm the one who's still miserable. Right. And forget about the tragedy, forget about the suicide. Like, aside from that, I had to look at like where I was, and I was unhappy for a long time. And so the foundation comes along and it really bypasses everything. But what it did was it created these set of tools really in which to sort of live your life by, so to speak, and not in a religious way, not even in a philosophical way, but in a very, very pragmatic way. Very pragmatic way. And it's like simple tools. Like, I'll never forget, I remember just, dropping off my kids to school and I'm worried about like what I have to do that day. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Remember one of the 10 keys to freedom. Live your life in 10-second increments. Which means if you had 10 seconds to live the rest of your life, what do you choose? And what that did was that got me it got me present with what was occurring right now. It got me out of dwelling on the sorrow of the past, my past mistakes, my dumb mistakes. But there are no dumb mistakes, as you'll learn in Access, because every choice you make creates an awareness, which is a gift. So what if we didn't actually have to judge the choices we made in the past? Every choice is just a choice. It's not good. It's not bad. It creates awareness, right? And then living in those 10-second increments, it got me out of worrying about the future. Like, oh my God, what if I make the same mistake again? How are the kids going to be? They don't have their mother anymore, da, 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 da. So it was like, okay, I have 10 seconds to live the rest of my life. What do I choose right now? So it allowed me to get in the present moment so that I can create a different future. Because every choice you make right now creates your tomorrow. Every choice you make right now creates your tomorrow. So if you want a different tomorrow, if you want a different future, if you want your life to look differently than it looks right now, 5 years from now, you have to be and do different. And that's what the tools of access consciousness creates the space for you to be able to do. And for those of you who have studied everything under the sun like I did, who read every single book, who had mentors and gurus and teachers who talked about how much potential you had, but nowhere in your life are you demonstrating all this wonderful potential, the tools of access consciousness will access that in your world. When? That I can't answer for you. It's different for everybody, but it will. Because everything I had done before couldn't. It was like this. No matter how much I tried, you know, and I went to the highest level in all those different modalities and I had nothing to show for it. But there's something powerful and potent about these tools in access consciousness. It begins with access consciousness, the bars, which is a prerequisite for the foundation class. Okay. And then in the foundation class, which is a 4-day class, and you also get to learn body processes, and you trade bars in the class, and you learn about the 10, the 10 keys to freedom. And if you could use those as a source for creation of your life, along with question, making choices and not worrying about if it's a good choice or a bad choice, having possibilities show up as a result of being in the question, and contribution. Now, when people hear the word contribution, what's the first thing people think? It's, what can I contribute? What can I contribute? Yeah, that's part of it. But the other part of it is, what are you willing to allow to contribute to you? And that's all about receiving. And that's the magic of access consciousness, that it creates a space for you to receive in ways that you never even imagined. And it helps you to get over your points of view that actually create the reality you're currently living in that may not be the most desirable. Awesome. So, good Lord, how can I say, and it's amazing. My kids were the ones who encouraged me because I was still studying other techniques. They're like, Dad, you got to get to the next class. Dad, you got to get to the next class. I'm like, yeah. I still got to study this stuff over here. It's like, what were they aware of? My kids are now 20, 18, and 12. And you can see what us choosing as a family, what it actually created. Because I can tell you, my older son at 20, my second son at 18, and my daughter, they are leaps and bounds ahead of where I was when I was their age. The level of confidence they have, their willingness to be who they are. I couldn't do that. Every moment of my life, I was always worrying about what someone thought about me. Every choice that I made was through the filters of everybody else's points of view. So to be able to watch my children actually choose for them and have the strength and the courage to be who they are, that's the gift. And like I said in the beginning, I thought I was a lost cause. I thought I was hopeless because I'd spent so much money on myself. So by the time Access came along, I'm like, that's just another modality. Maybe it'll work for the kids. Not only did it work for the kids, it worked for me. I decided to close my chiropractic practice down and, be a full-time access conscious facilitator and travel the world and meet amazing, beautiful people who desire and have the same hunger that I did. A bunch of weirdos, you know what I mean? It's like, we're all a bunch of weirdos, you know what I mean? But it's like, are we? Or do we just know something that's actually possible that's beyond what this reality has presented to us? So whether you've been through abuse, a bad divorce, lost a child, lost your business, lost your money, whatever the case may be, your past does not have to dictate your future. I promise you, it doesn't. You could actually, like, the life that I have now, I feel like it's a different lifetime. Like, everything that happened to me in the past was like another lifetime. And that was really because of the gift that access consciousness has been in my life and for my body and for the kids. So I'm super, super grateful. So those are just some of my experiences in Access. And I'll be honest, when I first got to Access, it was really, for me, it was about, I just need to get through my pain and suffering and then I'll be okay. And fast forward about 2 years of doing Access Consciousness, I'm finally at certified facilitators. And I remember it was day 3 of certified facilitators. And I literally was like, I had so much energy moving through my body. I was a little bit uncomfortable. I'm like, oh my God. And like I said, like I've done a lot of weird modalities before where I had a lot of energy moving through my body. I've had a lot of amazing experiences of all sorts. But this one was like, if you could take the sun and put it inside your body, that's what it felt like. I literally fell to my knees and I just started weeping with tears of gratitude. And everything in that moment felt as one, even the cement or the pavement that I was walking on. And I just had gratitude. I had gratitude for where I was in my life. And in that very moment, I realized that Access Consciousness is not about just getting you through your problems. Access Consciousness is about accessing the magic that you be, accessing the very being that you are that you haven't been willing to acknowledge. And when that begins to happen, you start to function from the space of knowing who you are at a level that you've never done before. And no matter who's judging you, no matter who's making you wrong, no matter who's telling you you're going to go to hell because this is too far outside the religious box, you don't care because you now have a knowing that nobody can ever take away from you. Nobody. So you receive the judgment because it's no big deal. And so we start creating your life the way that you've always known as possible. And guess what? There's actually even more beyond that, and more, and more, and more. And it's really up to you to choose. And so that's the invitation. You know, that's what Access Consciousness, not even so much me personally. I mean, like, because there's facilitators all over the world now. So in over 170 different countries. But that's the invitation that we're inviting you to. So for you to have more of you, to empower what you already know, you don't have to be in the healing profession like me. We have accountants and lawyers and, you know, God knows, you know, mailman and, you know, who the hell knows, doctors of all kinds, you know, moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas, you name it, from all religions all over the world, all cultures. They're pragmatic tools to help you to access more of you. So if that sounds fun for you, come play. That's the invitation. And I promise you, your past doesn't have to dictate your future. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Bye-bye.